I will continue where I left off. After that, it's quite easy. Sorry, excuse me. I mean, there is no job which is not easy as such. I thought I will show you this. Part of it look natural, part of it does not look so natural. So we have something saying there is a light delay, light timer, then there is a bulb here which probably I am sure it shows that we are controlling this, and then there is a timer, I am sorry, a fan switch which shows a fan can be controlled. Now comes the other thing, how do you now relate all these things? Are they natural or do they make sense? And I am not going to get into that saying is it something to do with language, does something to do with this, that and all that. What is useful is that if I can somehow make this, and coming back to the earlier thing, I do not even need to have a exact identical electronic circuit which fits here. All I need to do is probably make a cardboard or any other model, copy all these things into a Illustrator program and now make a test such that people will be able to see these things. Okay? You see this. See if these things make sense to you. Some things are obvious. You have seen, no? Fan says low and high, that is very much obvious. Some things do not look that obvious. Room temperature 85, set temperature. So we know that at least if you have used it sometime, you know what these things mean. Is there a slightly different way of organizing these things? This is okay, low and high. Is it logical to have it left and right, or is it logical to have it up and down? High should be here, low should be, again my opinion. Absolutely, you need to carry out this test with on a potential user, then they will be able to tell how to make it out and all that. And which we come to an old thing which I will repeat. If you hand out a questionnaire and then ask people to respond, I do not know whether that is the only way of making things. There are other ways, saying you give it to people, observe them how to do. There are trained designers and people who have learnt on the fly or on the job, who seem to intuitively make things which are quite acceptable to everybody. So we have here all these beautiful would it make this as saying low and high, and why should be only in the long format? Is it possible, like so many other games and all that? No, is it possible for it to make it into a different format? And we are hoping that this percent symbol need not be met, because whenever that percent is there, we associate it with two things. One is tax collected by any trader, another is tax collected by government. So it is a very threatening symbol to me when somebody says percentage. Instead, why not this bulb have, say, radiating lines which have maybe three things. One is very dim, maybe a medium, and then things which are little high. And we are not going to look at it here and anyway adjust the lighting, is it not? That was not our idea. We are not going to look at the display and adjust lighting. We are going to see how well it feels, whether the ambient lighting is correct for me or not. So we just need to have a very simple thing. Why not two buttons which shows high and low of the bulb, and fan, I said why not have some other way of making it. I leave it, again these things all relate to usability and experience issues. Right now the topic is not about it. So, you can go and try to see what else. Now, the other thing which often which we ignore and we come to is saying, what do you write here and what does autofan mean? So, and most important is how close these things have to be here, so that this does not go and relate itself to the other item. Is not it logical that it is it should come close here, and a little more gap is required. These are all control panel layout exercises which I feel people can carry out separately. I will take something else here. You see here, I do not even know what it is. Let me go a little closer and see whether it makes sense. It does seem to make a little bit of sense suddenly. Probably this is where now I read it up, and you see here, what do we have here? Picture of a light bulb, and you have something, only 3 positions, high, low and medium, and then there is a equally good position of there being an off. Why should there be an off? Again, my opinion, not real. What the customer wants is what it is, give it to somebody. Why not, when you press it, it should go on, and you press it again, it should go off. So, I am sure there is always a simpler, better way of making a layout. Next, what are all these wires and what is it? I think now you know what it is. This and this are not the front and back. This is the receiver which receives all the RF signals, and this is the connections to the various loads that they have. So, if you look around, you are likely to see so many of these things here. Oh, what do I have here again? I do not know whether I used to think a real player is a something you downloaded for the desktop. I do not know if it is still there. Now, you see here, there is once again what I love to hate, characters which I do not understand at all. I do not know what it means. There is something which is written and all that. No, is it possible for us to make things which are easily understood and how things move? So, at this point, I have sort of covered the points which I thought I will start with, saying I need to make a layout, make things inside, and then go around searching, and then in case I am looking for a character, I can go into the web, look at the say catalogs, pick one of those things, make a template, and then try to make a stick decal which can be used, and in the end hopefully I will have beautifully working models. And so, allow me to stop here. I will try to continue in the next lecture, saying how do we go about again using simple at home. All that is required here is a color printer at home, a few cardboards, you stick all these things and then transfer them and make your product ready. So, thank you until the next class. I am trying to go in short steps, a little bit of overlap from here and there, a lot of information from the what you call web and things which are there, and then allow me to acknowledge that all the material that has been taken from the what you call from the internet I have left the original labels on to show that I accept that that is the ones they have done. I have not made anything except a few things like here, and this was about making the, perhaps I remember that I had this concept of saying, shall I make this timer?
My name is Singh. I would like to demonstrate the sheet metal fabrication of this timer without using height gauge or measuring tools. What I am doing here is, I will take a drawing, scale 1:1 of a development drawing, and then paste it on the sheet metal, and then you can see that this is pasted on the aluminum sheet. Here we see that there are dotted lines, and then we have to bend it. Now we have to trim the portion that has to be taken off. These are the four corners that that has to be sheared off. So I am using an angle tool, notch, to shear off. Now all the four sides have to be aligned and then sheared. One side is over, I am taking the other side. We have to align to that notch there, and then notch of that portion. Now two sides are over, the other two sides have to be sheared off. So all the four sides have been sheared off. Now we see this extra rectangular piece that has to be removed on the four sides, that we will notch now. So now the four sides of notching has been done. Now for bending the lip, actually we have to give a relief there. All the four sides we have to give relief there, so that it bends inside when we bend the sides. So it will be plain there. Now I will just give a relief there, that is one thickness inside it goes, so that when you bend the sides it will be flush with the sides. So this, all the four sides I have to give relief. Now I have given this one. Okay. Now we see that that is the bending line, the dotted line. This is the folding machine where we have to adjust for various thicknesses. Adjustment has been made. Now we have to keep the dotted line straight onto the fingers and then bend it. We can see that this is exactly 90 degrees bend. We can even measure this one. So first we are bending the sides, two sides, and then the lips. The lips will be bent inside, so that the folding fingers will be inside and then bent. So this is the second side we have bent. We see that it is not 90 degrees, so that little more bending has to be done. Okay. Yeah. Now it is 90 degrees. Now two side bending is over. Now the limb has to be bent, that is one thickness inside it has to be bent. Now we see that this is in line with the side sheets there. So the second side also I am bending it. Now bending is over without using height gauge or measuring tools, and then we see that with that development drawing itself we have made the piece. Now we have to make a cover for this one, which we have to measure this one, and then make one more development drawing and then paste it, and then the same similar thing can be done. Here we can see that it is bent exactly 6 mm, that the height of that limb is 6 mm. You can see that it 6, we measure on the other side also, that is also exactly 6 mm. We will measure the sides now, which is 50 mm. So, this is exactly 50 mm. Now, after this we have to make a radius on the top corner. So, that 0.5 radius has to be done and then a cover has to be made. Yeah, thank you.
You have seen this. I left you here yesterday saying this shows you towards the chair who is conducting the session, and this shows you towards the speaker or presenter who is supposed to see it, and then there are some lights which look a little like the police lights which we see, which is actually the issue is not about the lights, it is about saying how do we present it to a group, because this invariably is a group project and you need not already launch a prototype. If you launch a formal prototype, it is expensive and you have already committed, because at that point changing is a problem, but right now only at the concept stage a concept has been converted into what looks like a physical model. It is a little like those if you go to a mobile shop, they will give you a set of mobiles. Usually the front top is a sticker and probably the plastic is real and inside there is a weight, there will not be much in it. But first thing people do is just check whether things are okay. Maybe it is a little like a kick the tire syndrome we used to have long ago, maybe 40 years back. Right now they kick tires only out of probably frustration. That apart, moment you present such a thing on a table, it makes sense. For example, if you have to compare these two, I ran the test on one of my colleagues. Okay, I just asked him, what do you say about it? I have two things. One of the first thing he has commented it, sir, this is meant for pure audio. As such it is good. If I have an alarm time, it is sufficient. I do not need anything more than this. And this, it may be a little distracting, because you expect the presenter to keep track of the time that is shown there. It is very distracting. Often people will keep looking here and there, and is it not logical to have this directly on the screen? Means if in case you have a smart board, it should be on the smart board. So, first point of the feedback what I have got it is there is a small hitch. Now, can I improve on it, saying can I have some device here which directly projects it onto the screen? Maybe a laser, maybe something, one of that laser writing things which projects on the screen, and but not distracting. Visually it should not be distracting. First feedback I have got. Secondly, is it worth all the trouble? Then that person told me, sir, these days not many people are interested in yours, because like you have been doing, they all have their own mobile. They just keep the mobile and then they keep it in the pocket, they get a feedback. And with Bluetooth, so many other things are possible. So, maybe your product does not have a place in all situations. Some situations it has a place. For example, in our case, we do not allow normally people to carry their mobiles in. So, we have to request them kindly put it in a aircraft mode and so on. So, while this makes sense, is there a place for my product here? It is just a concept, but concept wise it is just really worth it. Now, looking back at my concept, you see this here. I have this beautiful, very impressive looking box, which as I said, this is what we have made about, and that is what you have seen there. Now, I tried to see whether I can make something out of it. When I started the 3D modeling for this, one of the first thing I have done it is, can I now convert it directly into a fabricatable thing? And in our case, as I have told you earlier, if you have any of the inclined planes, they do not print well on any of these 3D printers, they do not print well, and you can't afford to have everything milled out of a solid. I know it is a very poor joke, and the same thing happens with these inclined surfaces. Here also, can you see here? It will not print well if I attempt to print it. So, next thing is I end up with saying, can we make it out of a laser cutter? Now, how do you cut these out of a laser cutter? You understand, the laser cutter we only done flat sheets. So, I may have to, this is easy to cut. I cut it and use some engineering adhesive and put them together, or in case it is something which is based on acrylic or some things like chloroform directly can be used as adhesives, or we have for everything we have the super glue. So, while it does make sense, super glue has the thing, but then what about the small curved portion? This can be a flat sheet, that can be a flat sheet. Now, what to do with the curved portion? So, you end up with having to really work on these things a little. At this point, that is where I have showed you what I had wanted to show you. Now, in spite of it, I went ahead saying, let me see if I can convert it into a solid, because the solid can be used by sheet metal. This is where I feel appropriate automation, meaning you do not ask for everything to be made in a 3D environment, especially I will get back to you that one. See here, when you want to make it out of a sheet metal, would not it be logical that I make a development drawing, send this, and this can be printed in my what you call desktop printer or whatever printer is accessible. Now, transfer the whole thing to a sheet, and there is no necessity of using very accurate marking and measurement metrology items. All we need to do is something which is approximately okay up to the order of say plus or minus 0.1 or 0.2, it is consistent. If I maintain the direction of printing, sometimes it is around 0.1 millimeters larger, then I can just go ahead and live with it. Yes, in this is a printout which is made based on the concept that has been made here. So, this sheet has been, this what you call flat surface has been made flat this side, this flat surface this side, this side, and that side. When I make it and then I make it, I have this beautiful device. One small thing you have noticed, this is the actual sheet that probably this is the developed blank which I need to make, but then after consulting with the people in the what you call our sheet metal shop, one of the first thing I have noticed is I need to give them approximately the size of the material that is required. So, if I see here, I need a blank is 88 millimeters wide and something which is 177.7. That small 0.7 comes because of, see here we have a radius, and that radius has been approximated to a sharp angle. Having done this, I have a nice sheet now which I just need to go and procure this material and start making it. And the important thing is, as part of the process, this has been made into an equivalent rectangle, because that is how we cut. We do not start with cutting with these things in the first go. Finally, after making that blank, we end up with small other details. See the detail here. This is the line along which the bend or the fold will need to come. We have a finger folding machine, which in the next video you will see. Something clamps the what you call blank, and there is a one device which does the bending, and then you get bent sheets. So, a little more about it later. And when we come into this corner, we end up with a very, very nice arrangement. One of the nice arrangements is something has to go inside, this limb has to go inside this thickness. See this limb, which has, depending on the sheet, has to go into the thickness, so that limb will come here, and there is already this portion, there is a circular this thing, it has to go inside. To accommodate this, one thickness relief has to be given. This is done by a usual hacksaw or something. I mean, we do have a formal machine. Now you see here, what started as a good concept, I noticed that there may have been a small problem with it. It looks good. It is a matter of taking that whatever surface model I have prepared, and then extruding the surfaces, and we have two pieces which look good enough. See this. Here slowly we are ending up with a small problem, is actually interfering with the other one. Now I have two options. One of the option is I make a very peculiar cut in this here. That is, after I do the bending, then that notching and all which I have assumed is wrong. Notching should not have been there. If a notching is there, something else is there. Or do something and then make this bigger and better. You have seen the same problem here, that corner somehow there is a small inconsistency in my logic I wanted to follow. It does not seem to follow as well as I want. There is a little problem here. So I need to now work on it and see how well I can settle this problem. Same thing here, I have assumed some radius here, the radius does not seem to match here. These, after showing my renderings to the shop people, I get back and then I try to make the best use of whatever can be done here. It started well. Now I have this blank. Eventually, I expect that these blanks are to be fabricated, and this is the thing which has come out of the printer. I will see if the video plays. This is the one that has been done on the screen, which I showed you already. After having done the print, I should have showed you earlier, but then I could not get that. Now I am trying to show you this. After having done this print, this has been transferred to a little thicker cardboard, and my colleague managed to cut it extremely well here. You have seen that this is from here, this piece is from here. Then finally, after what you call assembling everything, we have this beautiful piece. I thought I will show you this before. It looks nice. It is a little bigger than because of the scale. Can you see here? It is just this thing. The thing advantage being that without too much of measurement or anything, we have a beautiful working piece. I will see if the video just plays. Can you say last part of it being ejected from an ordinary printer? I could just get that much, and finally when you do the printing, we have this nice thing all assembled together with the minimum amount of effort. I have this working here. I just wanted to show you this. Seen this, no? With the minimum amount of effort, that whatever has come there, it has been assembled together. I have a box. Now I have enough time to show both of these things to my colleagues. As I said, somebody was quite happy with this, saying you just need an audio thing and then we do not need running time. If you make a running time, it is going to be a distraction. This does give a little thing, but then probably the only thing that is useful is probably the one that is facing the chair, session chair, and the one that is presenters. It is a little distraction, but at least first time when it beeps, at least that person can look at it here saying, I still have only 1.5 minutes to go, around 90 seconds to go. Later on, finally when it starts flashing he knows how much is over the time. So, it does have an effect, meaning do not glance at it all the time, at least when first time you get the indication, look at it like this. This is how I would like to justify those things. So, next shot, let me move on to the, this is all the various things which if you remember long ago when I started with all these things. We have all this and finally we have a product. I would like to next take you to the our fabrication shop and show you something which will be very educative, useful and so on. This apart, I myself just depend on this timer which I have here. You understand, it is ticking. I just have only 13 more minutes in which I have to catch the video also for this session. So, thank you. We will meet again in the workshop afterwards. So, I will stop here. Thank you.